Okay, it's 6 o'clock. Call the meeting to order. This is the September 30th, Wednesday Zoom meeting of the Finance Committee. May I ask the clerk to call the roll?
Okay, as they appear on my screen, Jody Smith,
Yeah.
Stuart Novick,
Here.
Glenn Lawrence,
I am here.
Dave Hurd,
Yes.
Tom Worthing. Tom, you there? Well, I think he's here. He's on mute. We'll count him. Glenn Lawrence
Yeah, I'm here.
and myself. So that makes 7.
Very good.
And then we have guests. We have Director of Planning, Ken Buckland. We have Select Board, 2 members of the Select Board, Alan
Thank you.
Slavin and Jim Manise.
Sandy.
And Sandy Slavin.
Yeah, she's in the background hitting me. That's okay.
Oh,
Yeah, right. I've seen you at meetings. She provides you with the snacks.
Not really.
he's so cute.
I should really get points for what I put up with.
I know she reaches out and straightens your crown for you.
Yes.
Okay, the first issue we're going to is the review of Article 15, which is the Wareham Village rezoning. There's been some hearings on it, but then again, there's a great deal of controversy. And I think we're having our own opportunity to discuss this with Ken. Swenson, who is the presenter oftentimes, has taken a back seat on this and has thrust Ken in the front, as well as being supported by Peter as the spokesperson for this zoning change. So Ken, do we have questions for you? And can you do, you've got a slight presentation, I understand too, have you not?
Well, I do have something on building height as an issue because that became the major issue in this. Just to go back over the history on this. It all started for me actually back in 2009 when I did a downtown study and recommended actions to revitalize the downtown village. That was when I was a consultant with the Cecil Group out of Boston. And this is coming to fruition now. And I'm happy to say that the master plan and the economic development strategy, both going through a long public process, both recognized the opportunity in the downtown and made recommendations to revitalize it. We had as well a Urban Land Institute technical assistance panel made up of architects, engineers, developers who looked at the downtown and made recommendations as to what our opportunities were to get private investment in there. And that was the impetus for this zoning bylaw. We've been spending the last several months developing the bylaw as the cheapest and easiest way to get significant money put into the downtown development. So and to do that, you have to craft the zoning so that it makes it attractive to risk and investment in the properties. So what that takes is the town acceptance, clear standards, and the certainty in the process and the outcomes. And with that, you can get the opportunity to see some private money come in to make some significant change. We have 2 developers right now, as a matter of fact, who are poking around and looking at what they may be able to do in the downtown. So the time seems to be ripe to approach this. What we found in the outreach and the sessions, public sessions on this, was that there were a number of issues that we've tried to address with the text of the bylaw. The last one that was fairly, I guess, controversial, and because it hit the newspaper, was the building height in the downtown. And the original draft, based on discussions with the developers, and the architects, we had picked a height of 65 feet. And that was questioned because of the height and what it might do in terms of creating a canyon effect in the downtown on Main Street. So at the planning board meeting where this was discussed, as they were making their recommendation to a town meeting and the Board of Selectmen on the article, I presented an option to pick a lower height and have an additional height allowed by special permit if some public benefits were provided in the development design in the terms of how it looked and what it actually did for public benefit. So that's the current draft of the regulation. That's going to be discussed by the redevelopment authority tomorrow. So it's not cast in stone at this point, but we'll see what the redevelopment authority comes up with as a result of their discussion tomorrow. If you want, I have a couple of slides to talk about building height and can run through them, give you an idea of what we're talking about if you're interested.
And I might interrupt. Can I suggest that instead of talking in terms of feet, difference in terms of number of stories? I think it's, I mean, like there's a 3-story building currently in downtown, and we may be able to predict it better in our minds if we knew the number of stories versus feet.
Well, why don't I, if I can share my screen, I'll bring up something that indicates to you what the height issues might be and how it's probably better if we do feet rather than stories, because there's a variety of story heights that can be produced that don't necessarily meet the a certain standard that we apply. So if you don't mind, is it all right if I share my screen?
By all means.
You've disabled host participant screen sharing.
Who has? I haven't. My hands are in the air. I think Steve has to release it.
Ken, what's the lower height you're suggesting?
Suggesting that starting out at 50 feet and by special permit going to 65 or at the maximum, or anything less that the special permit granting authority reviews and considers appropriate to the design. So without the ability to share the screen right now, I'll describe 191 Main Street, the Deacon's building, which is the tallest building on Main Street at this time. The height of the parapet on that building is 44 feet. If you're coming across the bridge at the Narrows, you'll see a tower, and the elevator tower, and on top of it, the antenna, the Verizon antenna, that goes to a height of 63 feet. So when you're driving through that down that stretch, and you look up, you'll see what the height of 65 feet would be approximately in the building forms. So what we're talking about doing is start the text right now says 50 feet for the that's under an allowed approval with a site plan review special permit. And if the, I said, if there are certain additional design and use so that there's public access and a good design, that and that means a roof line that looks nice, that would be a reason for issuance of a special permit to increase the height. I still don't have screen sharing.
No, I think Steve has to release it to you. I'm possibly the principal, but unfortunately, I'm not familiar with how to grant the screen to another participant.
Can you click on share screen and at the bottom?
Okay, I've done it.
And did you get a menu option?
No, I said host disabled participant screen sharing. That would be me, or it could be Steve. Yeah. You must have disabled it. It's beyond me to be able to override.
All right, one of the options we have available is also to do step backs. You don't necessarily have to go straight up from Main Street all the way to the top of the 65 feet. What we're suggesting is, because the depth of the properties there, and especially if we use Merchant's Way as the air rights over that land, that we can significantly set back anything that might go above the initial height of 50 feet, or even something lower, depending on where the break, which story the break was at. They would move the higher pieces back further, which would be appropriate for residential units above that would have the view of the coastline.
So what's been approved by the planning committee?
The planning board has okayed the article with the special permit for the height.
Ken, one other issue that they've often referred to, and you have, is the air rights to allow the property owners to expand over Merchant's Way. Currently, though, there's a number of the property owners who actually own spaces behind their existing property as it currently is configured. To what extent is Merchant's Way owned by the property owner and the town itself own?
It varies across the property. We have a survey. I can send you the survey as well. You can see some properties have probably availability of up to 9 or 10 spaces on their property. Some only have a couple of spaces. The Cornwell building has 4 spaces in their property, on their private property. The rest is Merchant's Way and town owned. What would happen with the air rights over Merchant's Way, if we were to provide those, is there'd be a developer's agreement. This is something that's stronger than zoning, that allows you to essentially do a contract on the use of the land, use of the air rights over the land. So what they have to do is afford the cost of trading the podium, the platform on which they build the rented space up above, and have parking underneath in the floodplain and on the ground, so that there's still access through that area as well. Um, That's done, it's done by, as I say, by a developer's agreement, which you can put in terms and conditions as to the use and operation of the property. That would be necessary, though, for all cases to get the amount of parking that would be necessary for the increased density of the development.
Well, essentially then, irrespective of the width of the building, on average, the current property owners could actually extend their buildings up to 15 or 20 feet into Merchant's Way and still be on their own property.
That's not accurate across all the way. Some of the buildings are.
But on average.
completely on there. I would say not on average, but it varies across the length of Merchant's Way.
But if we were to drive down Merchant's Way now, we would get the impression that Merchant's Way itself abuts all of those buildings, where it actually doesn't. There's actually at least parking space available for the owners of that property on their own property, which we perceive to be Merchant's Way right now, because we blacktopped the whole thing.
Yes, you're right. The property lines don't show on the ground, but parking available in the private property areas is actually very limited in most cases.
So what would the town do if a developer came in and wanted to develop the entire Wareham village? Would you take those properties?
No, that would be a private investment. What we're doing is providing the option available to increase the density and the market rents that would be available from the site. And I doubt that there'd be a developer that would take all of the properties all at once. That's a rarity. What is being considered is 2 or 3 parcels put together for one project.
So it's through the developer agreement that you deal with these private parking spaces?
That's right. We deal with the private and the public spaces together,
Okay.
and allow parking on the public land for the purpose of the redevelopment of the site as well.
Okay.
Jody?
Yeah, on the subject of parking, you know, you get the footprint of the building, and let's say for the sake of argument, you put 8 housing units in there. Do they have to provide 2 parking places? Is that what the town requires per unit?
The town requires 2 now. What we're saying is that there be an option for 1 parking space per, our minimum is 1 parking space, and their decision would be as to whether or not they want to put in 2 for each unit. That's their option, but we want a minimum of 1 per unit.
Okay, because my point being is everybody hates to be inconvenienced as far as parking goes. And if you put retail in, there's certainly got to be convenient parking for them. That's the whole idea, to get to come to the downtown, do business. And I'm assuming the parking would be underneath the building. Would that be the lower floor residence parking?
It'd be the lower floor, maybe 2 floors actually, depending on where the floodplain elevation comes to.
Okay, because the convenience, I've seen these buildings put up before from where I came from. And people do not go in the garages until they have to when it snows out. They normally park outside because the parking spaces in the garages can be very difficult to get into sometimes. Just because we have to configure, get in and out. I mean, that is a real concern to me. It is, because I've been through it. You know, so I mean, if 1 parking place and there's 8 units, you know, I mean, that not knowing what the footprint of the building is and what the frontage is going to be, either retail or whatever it may be, you know, you don't want them taking up public parking places and have an inconvenient person that wants to come down, maybe go to a restaurant, go shopping, whatever the case may be. It's a sticky wicket.
Well, perhaps we could
Yeah,
have
it is.
a mediation within their agreement to get rid of the stupid bump out that's in front of their building.
That would make a lot of people happy.
We can negotiate that.
But yeah, the parking,
Yeah.
they sometimes they're just so inconvenient getting in and out of them and stuff, and people just going to take the easiest parking place they can find. It's.
That's absolutely right. And parking is a major issue in any redevelopment. We have to have enough parking that it makes sense for people that they're going to be attracted to the downtown and come down to visit and support the businesses that are down there. Come out for dinner and all. And what we're hoping is that that this will make it more attractive for those businesses to offer their goods and services when they have a ready market right in the residential units that will be there as well.
And speaking to the residential, another off this subject of parking, is there going to be any affordable housing figured into the formula? If they put 8 units in, 2 have to be, is there consideration?
No,
for that?
we had talked about it and decided against an affordable housing requirement, leaving it up to the market to make the decision about what kind of units and the price points on them.
So it'd be market value.
Yes, it would be.
Thank you.
Now, currently,
Yeah, we're seeing it.
go ahead, Ken.
We're seeing that the market is pretty good. The Rosebrook apartments have rented out at a fairly high market rate. So we're hopeful that the market stays strong in the near-term future when we get the zoning in place that can attract the kind of similar kind of private development.
I think if you go from the fire department all the way down to the Narrows Bridge, there's some 12 buildings that have a second floor, which is a resident or apartment on each one of those buildings. And that's not an office building, that's a 3-story. So there's a lot of residents down there now on that side.
But they're not legal. Zoning says that a mixed-use building with apartments in it is not legal, is not allowed under the zoning bylaws at this time.
Excuse me, those apartments are not legal?
How long have they been there?
Pre-existing, non-conforming.
Oh, they're grandfathered.
We don't use that term so much anymore, but yes, that's a pre-existing non-conforming.
And you're in a bunch of grandfathers. We use it all the time. But I think the only issue that everybody has been discussing is the building height. And it seems to be the sticking point of the whole process.
Well, that's the reason why I had presented that option available to the planning board and hope that the redevelopment authority feels the same way to address that issue of height and how we can make this thing look good and be attractive to private investment, because we want to use private money. We don't want to use public money to do this.
Yeah, the redevelopment authority has a better pathway to that, and they should become more proactive in this whole issue. I hope tomorrow night their discussion is more pointed than just discussion.
Ken, are there any federal programs like Opportunity Zone that would give low interest financing and or federal state tax credits for a developer that would want to do something in a downtown area like this?
Yes, as a matter of fact, there are. And what we did was we had established an opportunity zone in the downtown when the administration, the federal administration had created that opportunity. We jumped on it and established the opportunity zone. That is one of the reasons, or at least one of the developers, their interest in going downtown was based on the fact that that opportunity zone was in place. We also have things like the MassWorks grant that we can go after to help support the development. If there's some infrastructure that needs to be done, there's some improvements that are being made to the wastewater pump station downtown, but we can make some changes in other infrastructure, maybe even get some access across the tracks out to the waterfront so that we could build a pier out there and have nice waterfront activity area.
What does the opportunity zone do for the developer? What type, is it tax breaks or low interest loans or
A
what?
tax credit that applies available for up to, I think, 10 or 15 years. What it requires is that at least half of the value of the property is reinvested to make improvements and on money that would otherwise be taxed as capital gains, so that the money is protected for the term of the investment.
Does this put any kind of limit on our ability to assess real estate taxes at market value?
No, it doesn't. All it does is provide a tax credit to the owner, not to, doesn't change the value of the market to the town and the assessment that's made and the taxes that are accrued. That's something that the town makes the decision on.
Just prior to our meeting, Ken had distributed some emails with, I believe, his images that he was going to present. And so I encourage you all to print it out for those who have printers. And if there's any other questions, I'm sure we can put them together and have Ken either just email us the responses to our questions, or perhaps if he is free to join us next Wednesday also. Are there any other questions of Ken? Yes, David.
Yes, Ken, what is the reaction of the owners of the property downtown to this proposal?
Is a wait and see attitude, apparently. I haven't gotten any negative feedback. I haven't gotten any positive feedback. What I have is that there are some property owners that are interested in selling the property, their properties, and have put them up for sale to test what the market will be. I think we're well timed on this. If the market is strong and the landowners get what the price point that they're looking for.
So nobody has come out and said, don't do it,
No,
of the owners.
no, this is an opportunity to get a better value out of their property. So there's no loss to them in this option.
I spoke with two property owners, one passed, and their biggest complaint of this whole process is just they would reinvest if the town would only take care of the homeless problem that goes along Merchants Way. The panhandling, the sleeping, the spending times, unfortunately, the urinating, et cetera, that happens during the daytime. And as far as the issue with the development that's being proposed with the zoning change, they're really neutral about it because they feel in the short term their ability or their interest in expanding is complicated by those issues I just commented on. It just spoils their ability to draw customers because of that. And that is their primary complaint. As far as the zoning is concerned, they're, as I said, neutral on it. Is there anything
This
else
is
for
a-
Ken?
Well, this is a common problem, and typically with redevelopment, those issues go away.
Yes, but you have to, of course, in the individuals, aside from the number that may result in a developer coming in, there's also some that are going to remain. And it's nice to encourage them to take an interest and expand their property or upgrade it, et cetera, things of that nature. Because I even suggested to one with a restaurant, which has a very good breakfast, and he's put a deck out and back, and you can have, summer dining, snacking, et cetera. And they said, no, not unless you take care of the homeless problem back there.
This is the
Okay.
broken window theory of
Yeah, go ahead.
this is the broken window theory of public policy, that you address social issues and maintenance of property as ways to get people to reinvest and figure there's an opportunity, there's a future there in the site. So it does make sense to address those problems at the same time that we're looking at redevelopment.
Indeed, indeed. Yeah. Any other questions?
Thanks, Ken.
No, thank you very much, Ken.
Thank you.
All the other zoning issues we've already talked amongst ourselves and voted on. So that was the most critical one. And everybody wanted a second glance at it. So thank you very much for your time.
All right, and I'll be available if you have any other questions.
Thank you. One of the other issues, I wanted to go over them because I've got some more information regarding the Articles 6 and 7, which is the gift of land, one by the Elcone Trust and one by the Volpe Estate. I attempted to go and drive past them, but you get in that warren of dirt roads. One end might have a street name on it, and then you drive down it, suddenly there's a Y, and you don't know which one is which. I did, or was able to find out that, let's see, one is literally a pond. And that one would be, I think, is the Elcone Trust. Talk with John Foster about the cost of us taking it either by abandoned property or non-tax. Now, let's see. Article 6, which is the Elcone Trust, that's the pond, Zero Perch Road, valued at $600. Our tax rate is currently $10.98 or something like that per 1,000, which means we get probably $6 to $7 per year on that valuation. It would, if we took it as abandoned property, according to John Foster, it'd go up, maybe it costs us $2,000 to $3,000. If we takes it as a tax lien, also it cost us $1,000 or so in court fees and the like. And the gift of land, I think it's just, they just want to get rid of it. You want to, why would we take it under the circumstances? Maybe
Do we
it's,
have any clue as to what the quality of the water is or any environmental issues? Didn't we just do this with this nail property? Don't you think we should check this out in advance?
my view of it is it's heavily overgrown. As I say, it's a pond.
What's been going into it?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think we should accept anything until we're convinced that there's no environmental problem we're going to have to clean up.
Good point, Stuart.
No liability. Yes.
This is water. In this town, there isn't a piece of water that isn't polluted. It's just a question of how much.
I'm just making a note to, is an explanation as to why we may or may not approve it, depending upon how you wish to vote, that one of the issues was our concern about the environmental problem.
Could we go after the trust to take the responsibility for any liabilities, any environmental liabilities associated with this pond?
I believe that would be a decision of the selectmen, how they wish to pursue it.
I'm sure there are no assets there, but if there's a problem, there's a problem. Whether the town wants to fix it up is a different story. But if we take ownership of it, we will fix it up if there's a problem. That's what happened at this nail factory.
Mhm. It, on the street map listing that I have printed out from Google, it appears that the street ends at either end. As I said, I literally couldn't find where it was based on what it runs. It's a warren of little streets in there, nice little homes, just a warren of little streets that were originally summer homes and now are permanent homes. It doesn't look like it's buildable in any way, shape, or form. But that's just what I found. That's just information.
That sounds like 95% of the waterfront in Wareham.
Volpe. What about that one?
The next one, the Volpe Estate, is down in Swift Neck. And be perfectly honest with you, I couldn't find it. It is a piece of property valued at about $500. And again, we make about $5 a year on taxes. And as I said, I couldn't find it, so I couldn't even tell you if it's buildable. It's according to the maps that I've been able to download, it's on a street. It has frontage. But as I said, it's speculation on my part based on the maps. I couldn't find it. There wasn't a big sign out in front. But you had asked the last time we were reviewing this if there was other information on it and the like. And so that's what I have, and I passed it on to you in terms of the cost of the future if we should take it. I'm not even sure why we should even waste the money in doing so as abandoned property or the like, considering the cost based on the value of the property.
Is Ken still on board?
No.
Oh, I was wondering if he had any thoughts on this as to the liability or potential liability of either of these parcels.
Liability in what fashion, David?
Well, is there an environmental issue, number one, which was brought up before very appropriately, or is there anything else that is on the property that we might have to remove?
Well, it's a good point. And the environmental side, obviously, it's a pond, as it indicates, and even the Google image shows it as a pond. As far as the other one, which is a piece of property, street, I would ask if one of you would volunteer to go down and
You couldn't find it.
well, I would suggest perhaps call one of us to let us know you're going, so that if we don't hear from you, we'll notify your next of kin.
If we don't make it back?
But that's all the information I was able to find on the property. And so later on, we'll ask for votes on this whole issue. And
I think
Bernie, that land is all marsh.
it's all marsh.
Yes, Bernie. I sent you a couple of chats to give you the information.
Okay. What the heck? I lost everything here.
Have the selectmen voted on this?
Yeah, the vote was 4 for and 1 against, which was me.
Why'd you vote against it?
I saw no reason to take land that's not buildable, not usable, and why spend any money or be responsible for anything that you don't need. But that's my opinion only. Well,
Yeah, and neither parcel is beneficial to the town in any way, shape, or form. There's a small playground down in that area, in the Swift Beach area. And I was hoping that property might have abutted the playground so that they possibly could extend it with the Swift Beach Association or something of that nature. But as I said, I couldn't find it to begin with. What the heck? Here you go. My hands are in the air and I'm not doing anything here. Okay, I checked with Derek. He has no more information about the capital planning, the transfer of free cash, prior year bills. I hope my name comes up in the prior year bills. This is the last printing we had for the June town meeting. I sprung for that. Of the, let's see, chapter 4, the PEG access. Let's see, I asked for the amount of money. I think Jody asks for, what is it? How much money we transferring? It's $422,766.22.
Really? Oh.
And we do that, usually we do that twice a year. Of course,
So they get almost $1 million a year?
yeah.
Wow, that's good.
But I think, the money is spent wisely. There's an issue, and I'm not sure it's been resolved or not. Maybe Alan can jump in on it, of whether or not the Fios and Verizon had an opportunity to change the way they were returning money to the individual towns. And if they were going to do so, that's why at least 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we approved the ability of WCTV to add on to that building. And he's been accumulating the money, but he hasn't gone forward because he doesn't know how that issue is going to be resolved. I believe it's on a federal level because of who they are. And that's still up in limbo.
that's correct, Bernie. There's been no change. They're holding off simply because they don't know what's going to happen with the cable companies over the next couple of years. And the agreements we have might just disappear if the cable companies start failing. If you want to look at Fairhaven, Fairhaven now has their own internet service, and they basically put their own infrastructure in, which basically eliminates the need for cable companies because they'll be offering that service to their residents at a much reduced price. This is another coming piece as well.
Now, but if you look around when we've gone through the town meeting in June, and especially when we're in the auditorium and the various levels, areas where we have meetings and the like, all that equipment was supplied to us through WCTV and installed by them and maintained by them. Bob does the selectmen's meetings, and when Jonathan does our meetings, and all, they're all on the clock. Another one was the question regarding the Mckinney Vento funds. I had the note written down somewhere, but I can't seem to find it. I think it was 24,000 approximately. Yeah, $23,434. Kim emailed that information to me this afternoon.
Bernie, that 23,000 is reimbursement. Reimbursement. Now, does that also have to be used though for transportation, or can it be used for other than transportation?
No, it's very specific. It's for defraying the cost of transporting out-of-town students or two students to out of town that can't afford it themselves. And it's given to us by the state. And in order for us to spend the money for the transportation, it has to be transferred to a particular account. this transportation account. It's just written into the law that way.
Well, it doesn't cover the total cost anyway, so.
No, it does not. The one other one we haven't, well, we have, let's see, I'm looking now to see what we haven't voted on. The Harbor Services, Gary will be with us next week, next Wednesday. I was texting him today. He apparently wants some big motors so we can go faster than anybody else.
Good idea.
It's like $40,000 worth of engines though. I can't believe
It's like
that.
an 8-horsepower engine.
Yeah. They could be racing boats.
Have you seen what's out there? I mean,
Oh,
Yeah, the nice ones are out there now. And he pulls up to a nice new dock also.
good for him.
I thought it'd be terrific if he put a pumpkin on top of each one of those. But, and then the rezoning, which we heard this evening from Ken. The next one is the Wareham Pollution Control of the Resolving Fund. They apparently did a very good presentation last night to the selectmen, and I was not home and was not able to see that. But I was talking to Guy and mostly Jim today, and they will both be with us next week, as well as the engineers.
yeah, the engineers did a great job last night explaining all that.
Did they? Good.
Yeah, yeah.
Is Jim still here? Jim? Someone want to wake Jim up, please?
Yeah, what's up there, Bern?
The Article 21 and 22 and 23. One of the solid-
22 and 23 or?
the solid waste recycling fee and the recycling account. Revolving account.
What do you want to know?
Well, I mean, that's just if there are any questions and you happen to be available.
Yeah, I might have some answers. As far as the cost, I met with Derek today, and we're still working on it to present to the board to get their approval. And they're also still in negotiation with vendors to provide curbside services, trying to get the best bang for the buck and come down with a cost structure. And then the other article basically would just be setting up a revolving, increasing the amount of the revolving fund to be able to have enough, put enough capital in there to cover the costs of operation throughout the course of the year. It's all expected to be funded by the users, whether it would be the transfer station and or curbside, and not out of the town operating budget. They did take some funds last year to start the revolving account using the monies from the sticker fees, and also the per ton payment that the curbside collection companies pay us. They pay us, I think, $20 per ton for homeowner collection, because they get to dump for free, so we charge them 20 a ton. So I believe that money's going there too. I don't know what the amount is. Derek would have that. I mean, a lot of people would have it. You just have to ask the right people. I don't have access to those unless I ask.
Now, you said there, the spending limit in the revolving fund is currently 2.5. You say you're going higher than that?
Oh, in that, no, I thought it was 500,000 currently. I think he wanted to bring it up to either 1.5 or 2.5.
Yeah, okay, they're requesting 2.5.
Yeah, you know, because the combination of the operation of the two, you might have large influxes of money. Oh, say the last quarter of the year, or actually December, which would be the second quarter, would it be? in January when people were getting the stickers or the initial sign on for the curbside pickup once a vendor is chosen for that. So there'd be, you need the room because you're going to have a lot of ebb and flow of monies coming in and going out.
Yeah. Now, do you have or we have a contract yet?
I know, I said that earlier. They're still talking. They're having a discussion with at least 2 of the 3, possibly all 3 of the bidders. And trying to get the best bang for our buck and, little add-ons or whatnot. A couple of them are pretty close in their bids. The other one was a little bit higher. So, the way it was structured, we're not required to do bidding for trash removal. So we did it in order to attract some interested parties, in order to be able to do some negotiation and see where we end up.
But do you have a contract to dissolve and reconstitute the refuse organization itself?
You mean the district?
Yes.
No, we haven't voted on that. We have not put it on the warrant for the fall. At this point in time, Marion is proposed to actually withdraw and would be doing so from the district. And in addition, I'm trying to get a budget from our executive director so we can present it to the finance committee and the select board so that could be on next spring's town meeting warrant. And that should have been done for years, but nobody seemed to care as long as they didn't have to pay for the cost of the operations. It was free money and the free ride's over.
Yeah. But
That's where we're at, huh?
if I understand your description, are going forward with the solid waste recycling and pickup door to door is not contingent on our dissolving the district.
No, it's not.
Okay.
At least at this,
Nobody's actually thinking of accepting what Marion proposed.
well, the district voted on that to accept their withdrawal.
Well, their withdrawal,
But
they wanted to get out of, they wanted to pay X amount of money, so there's no future liability.
yeah, you can say that. They're still liable for the landfill. And then Rochester, we're having a 21E done on it and a possible phase 2 on the 21E. We want to be cautious ourselves moving forward. And Marion's property, where the district owns the 2-acre parcel where the actual transfer station is, that's built right on top of the old landfill. So we don't want the liability responsible, the district doesn't want the liability that would be associated with the landfill, which is right, like I said, our transfer station. You can see it when you go there. It's that big mound behind there and you see the leachate pond next to it. So, there was some give and take, and I believe they're going to take it to fall town meeting for their second vote for their actual withdrawal. We'll just have to see how that plays out. A lot of moving. And, unfortunately, it got down to squeeze before anybody took action. I knew this was coming for years and years.
But we also, they were talking about the liability we have for the benefits, retirement, et cetera, for the existing employees that we had. Is that an issue still?
Well, we don't see it as an issue because there's a sizable fund that's built up in the last few years. And I guess since 2018, 18, 19, and through this year. So we're going to set up a trust to cover any liability up to that date and time of the Marion leaving, and also just to have it set aside so that we don't worry about it. And so it's not money, it's money you don't touch. And then hopefully in our well, what I would like to do is in our budgetary process, like front fund the actual cost of the benefits as they would be necessary down the road. So you're pre-funding it instead of post-funding it. So you build it into the hourly cost for the employee, and that just would go into the fund instead of playing catch up like the towns all do and the state does. I mean, how far behind the 8 ball are we related to unfunded liability for pension and health care? I think the town's like $100 million. So for us in the district, I think our liability is about unfunded liability, they call it, is about $400,000 related to the pension, and about another 100,000 or a little more related to the healthcare.
Is Marion going to contribute to this?
No, that fund is already in. That monies are already in our district accounts. We get paid by Vento on a per ton basis for them to dump in the landfill, and we operate as a pass-through enterprise in a sense where we get the bill, we pay it when they give us back the money to pay the bills. So it never costs us anything, but we're getting a positive gain on the tons that they're dumping in the actual landfill, the ash and the solid waste. So we've accumulated about, at this point in time, $1.2 million. Of that amount, a part of it will be put aside for the unfunded liabilities. Operating expenses. Another portion of that will be utilized as of January 2nd. And then we will assess the towns probably on a quarterly basis for the cost of the operation.
I just want to make sure Marion doesn't walk away from this, period.
Well, as far as the district, I mean, we make our own decision on that, like an authority or the Wareham Housing Authority. So there's an agreement in place. Nobody's ever really happy with all conditions within agreements, but you do it to what can be, I guess, in the best interest of all. And for us, if we want to be able to provide that service, the best interest for all is to let them withdraw, and we can't keep them from withdrawing.
I understand that.
Yeah.
Withdrawing and their liability are two separate issues.
Well, their liability related to what?
To these, to whatever these costs are with regard to pension and unfunded liabilities.
I just explained, we will take a portion of our monies, our funds that we have, and put it into a trust to cover that for any liabilities at this point in time. So that would probably be a total of between retirement and the healthcare, about $550,000. Anything moving forward from this point in time, we would try to front fund it and build it into the cost of operation at this point in time, and not chase our tail afterwards looking for money to pay it.
Are there any liabilities on the property or the disposal of waste?
Are you kidding me? The landfill, that's 30 years old. And we have $10 million. We have one $10 million policy with Covanter. There's a trust also set up for that. There's another over $1 million in that to cover the next two 10-year policy, $10 million policies. You need to cover it for a total of 30 years or 35. Covanter is technically responsible for all of that. who knows what happens in 30 years. I probably won't be worrying about it. I don't know about many of you guys. But is adequate coverage, to the best that we can provide, regardless. And all towns are in it, regardless of that. And it's been said by some of the attorneys, it doesn't matter what you really put on paper. If government agencies get involved, they're going to go after everybody. If there was ever an issue. And it just goes back to 74 when it was actually a landfill for the people of the towns. Had nothing to do with Covanta until 82 to 84.
Any other concerns about that?
What happens if the town or town meeting takes no action?
On what? Any of the refuse articles?
Yes.
Well, the curbside collection, everybody would be on their own. The district, if we're still in existence, we can still operate and assess the towns. So it would be in the best interest of the town to figure out financially where you have to be in order to cover the costs associated with it. The town's liable, that's what people don't, the towns are liable. Liability is still there, whether we're an operation, running the transfer station or not. If we're just an administrative arm, the liability still rests on all three towns. And it related to the landfill, it's all three towns. We would give Marion let them walk away from Rochester as long as we get a clean slate on that 21E, phase 1 and phase 2. That's a hard top surface that's been operated since 98. So.
But the revenues from Covanta end December 31st, correct?
That's correct. Just like the town's revenue for the per ton payment that they've been giving us ends that date too.
So Jim, just so I'm clear, nobody can Marion can't walk away from Rochester until we've done the study that there's no environmental liability there.
We could always just agree to the amended restated agreement, have a special town meeting and turn into an administrative arm. And then part of the agreement we have with Marion is that they would not withdraw them. See what the deal is and how it was set up. Towns were charged on equalized valuations, but on the breakup deal, they wanted everybody to get an equal distribution of a third. So we got the lion's share at the initial startup cost, but on the end, they wanted to just give everybody a third. So it's been very interesting to say the least.
Now, if any of you have any questions that come up between now and next week or whatever, by all means, let me know. We'll have Jim back.
I didn't even, thanks for the invite. I appreciate it. And, hopefully it can put some of your questions, put you at rest a little more on it. We don't want any funds from the town's general fund to cover the cost of solid waste disposal. We want it all self-funding, period. So it needs to be set up properly. And that's what we're working on at this point.
And Jody and I can attest to how complicated that can be because we're both from Stoughton, and Stoughton does their own trash pickup and they deliver it down to CMAS within their operating budget. Well, it's an enterprise account, I believe, wasn't it, Jody?
Yeah, still is.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, I paid $134 a quarter for my trash pickup. That was 4 years ago.
Boy, well, that's pretty good. You might be in the ballpark. You
They
might,
took everything, curbside. You could put a refrigerator out. They took everything.
that will probably, well, we don't know, but that might be an additional fee.
Right, right.
But you may be in the ballpark, maybe a little high, depending. What'd you say, 134 a quarter?
Yeah, that was 4 years ago.
Oh, 20. Oh,
No.
geez.
No, 134 a quarter. So it's 135, 540 a year.
40 a year, but, yeah, no, it would be better, much better than that.
And keep in mind when this operation that Stoughton had been going on for over 30 years. I raised my family in Stoughton, and as children, they're in their 50s now. So they had an ongoing operation, and so there wasn't any problem in this time frame. It wasn't a startup. I don't think it was a startup even when I moved in. It was getting ongoing. They've been doing it for a long period of time.
Well, yeah, and that's municipal. So with municipal, you have the ongoing liabilities issues for, retirement, where when you do it through a private contractor, I believe they have to pay wage scale to their drivers and whatnot, but they're responsible for all of the insurances, and the town doesn't get saddled with that. So that's sort of a benefit to going with a private contractor in the bid process.
Yeah.
And back then, there was money in recyclables, refrigerators, all the white goods. There's no money in that stuff anymore.
A little bit. I think we got like $750 last month from the district. A vendor, a scrap dealer provides the container, and they haul it out and they give us a portion of the weight for the scrap. So, we don't care if it's $500, $1,000, we'll take it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Jim, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I think that's about it for our review of new information. I'd like to go back and see if we get some approvals on particular issues. Article 4, which is the PEG access that we were just talking of how much they get, over 400,000. I'd like to have a motion to approve, please.
I think we approved that last week.
Yeah, we already approved that.
We did?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. And let's go on to Article 6, which is the gift of land. The Elkhorn Trust. Motion to approve or recommend?
I think a very good point was made about the EPA and stuff, and making sure there are no liability issues there. I mean, I think I was ready to vote for that. I never gave contamination, or if there's houses around there, flowing water. I mean, you don't know what you could possibly have in there. I don't think that's a unreasonable request. I mean, in this day and age, I think that was a very good point.
Hey, Bernie, another thought. Can you ask maybe town administrator, see if maybe the Wareham Land Trust can take it, because they're always looking for land, and that would accomplish this. That would accomplish what the trust and the estate wants to do, and the town wouldn't have any potential liability.
Why?
Well, because the Wareham Land Trust is not affiliated with the town. It's a separate 501c.
Somebody's going to have liability.
Well, it's not us. It's
Yeah,
not the
well,
town.
that's fine.
It's not the
But it seems to me, these properties cost us nothing. They could sit there for the rest of the time and it's irrelevant. Why would we want to undertake something unless they're valuable? In which case we should do an environmental study, make sure they're clean, and then take them. If they're not, if they're worth $500 or $600, who cares? Let them sit there.
Because
There's no hurry to get these.
these people want to get rid of it.
I don't care if they want to get rid of it.
And they
Let
can
them
do that
pay
to the
us to get
Wareham
rid
Land
of it.
Trust.
Fine. Will they sign a document saying that they have the means and they'll be responsible for any environmental problems? No. So it doesn't matter.
You don't know. You don't know that. No one's been approached the land trust. I don't have
Well,
that.
let's put it this way. I wouldn't just take them, period.
I think you've got a good point, but the other point is, we should get an input from our Conservation Commission. We should get an input from Ken Buckland, and maybe it goes to the land trust, rather than.
How about some input from a lawyer?
Yep, that would be good too.
Okay.
Okay, so move on.
Can we gonna vote on this?
Beg your pardon?
Are we gonna vote on this?
You're asking for more information. That's what I was interpreting.
Yes. And I don't see any urgency for the town to vote on this.
Yeah, you're not gonna get information in the next 2 weeks to be able to even consider this.
I mean, if we put it off for a year, the land is still worth just as much as it's worth now.
I agree.
They're not going to sell it to anybody. And if they do, that's fine.
Let's go in the town meeting. It's on the warrant. It's just if we're going to recommend or not.
Well, that's what we'll get more information. And if nothing resolves the issues that you have, we'll just either defer or, well, we vote in the negative that we don't recommend.
You don't recommend, wait for additional information or find out a reason that we should buy it or take it.
Now,
So they might have to give us money to take it.
Well, maybe.
They don't have enough money.
If someone wants to make a motion, it has to be a positive motion, and then we'll vote to, the motion would be not to approve. Or the motion would be to approve, and we'll do negative votes on it. Whatever your wishes, gentlemen. Wait for more information next week, fine. Next one is Article 15, the Wareham Village rezoning that Ken was speaking on earlier. I have a motion to approve, to recommend.
We're still waiting for the results of the
Redevelopment.
Yes,
The result of what?
the meeting tomorrow night.
The
Okay.
redevelopment authority, what are they gonna come back with?
Very good.
I'd like to wait and see what redevelopment authority says.
I agree.
The next one, Article 18, is the water pollution, and will be with us next week. We have the Charter 1 and 2. Any issue that you want to vote to recommend or not recommend?
Charter 1 has been approved by the selectmen, Chart 1.
Yeah,
Chart 2 has not been approved by the selectmen yet.
Has it been voted on, David?
Chart 1 was voted last night by the selectmen.
Two has been voted on?
and Chart 1 is primarily punctuation, capitalization, phraseology. They're not really changing anything within it, getting rid of language that was in it from 2017 when they changed something and they referred to it, but they changed it at that time, but the language was still there. So as I read it today, is that there is nothing substantive in Chart 1 that changes anything within the charter itself.
I would make a motion to approve Chart 1.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Who seconded it? Okay. Jerry, would you call the roll, please?
Bernie,
Yes.
Dave,
David votes yes.
Stuart,
Can't hear you.
okay, Stuart,
Stuart?
okay, Tom,
Yes.
Cody,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
Stuart. Myself, yes, so that's
Stuart seemed to drop off.
6-0-0 then, I think. Right?
Okay.
Okay.
Now, chart 2 has a lot of changes in it regarding positions. Would you like to have Judy, or I think it's Marie is leading on that group?
I would like to have Judy or someone else give us an overview of that, and I'd also like to wait until the selectmen vote on it.
Okay. While we're here, I have a question. With respect to what we print in our report, do we want to single out the individual changes, or do we want to print one of the charters in its entirety? That is to say, let's say on Article 20, Chart 2, as they refer to it, which has the principal changes, i.e. the road commissioners, sewer commissioners, town clerk position, et cetera. Now, we could print just those pieces of the charter that are being changed, or print the charter in its entirety as corrected. But then how would we refer to the changes as compared to the previous charter, which was 2017?
I would prefer to see the sections that are being modified written out as they are now, and then a cross through on anything that's deleted, and perhaps italics for anything that's changed, anything that's added. So you can look at a particular paragraph, see what is actually changing, and make a determination as to what the impact on that particular paragraph or sentence is.
Are you suggesting, David, a before and after?
Yes. So it's all in one place. We just printed out once, but with the original kind of like a word process, a word product that shows the changes.
Now, I have what you allude to as to the changes. I was in the entire presentation that they sent to us. So we can easily paste out of the existing charter to show what it was before. So that shouldn't be any difficulty for us.
Right. I wonder if Judy has that already.
I have the change.
Yes.
And the original, of course, we just call up one of the charter and cut and paste.
But she may, if she has started with the original charter, she may have a
before and after already?
Before and after already.
Okay, yeah.
Or
I had been discussing with others the value of having the charter in its entirety, old and new, available to the town meeting members. It's an awful lot of printing for, as we found out, was it 2 or 3 years ago? The guy says he keeps it on his coffee table overnight and then throws it away when it's way to breakfast.
Right.
And that's when we printed an expensive one too. Okay, I'll check with Judy, see what they have. Now, we just, this evening on 22 and 23, one being the solid waste and recycling fee and the solid waste recycling account. That actually, let's see, 22. That doesn't establish a fee, but it gives the enabling authority the right to process a system of fees to cover all costs of the operating the town's integrated municipal solid waste programs. There is a bylaw on file in the town clerk's office. Do you feel you have sufficient information, though, to motion to recommend, let's say, Article 22, which would be the waste recycling fee? It does not establish a fee, but it establishes the ability to create a fee. Any questions? Do I have a motion to recommend? I interpret the strong silence of being unsure. I got to take a look at that bylaw. I didn't get a chance today to download it. How about the creating the revolving account itself, which is Article 23? Any issues with that? I have a motion to recommend.
One, I just want to increase, right?
The revolving fund account just creates the account with a ceiling of 2.5 mil.
2.5.
Can I have a motion to recommend?
Yeah, I'll make the motion to recommend.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Dave, seconds. Any further discussion? On the motion, all those in favor, Jerry, will you call the roll, please?
Bernie,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Stuart's not here. Tom,
I pass.
Jody,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
myself, yes. So that would be 510.
A 501.
501,
yeah.
okay. 501.
Okay, and anything else that we haven't covered now is the, wait a minute.
I mean, just to bring up the renaming of the school, we deferred that last spring.
Yes,
I don't think anything's good. Nothing in my mind has changed since then.
I think we voted to defer that last time.
Yeah, we did. We deferred.
yes, we have to do another vote. Can I have a motion to defer?
So made.
I have a second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Jerry, we call the roll, please?
Bernie,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Jody,
Yes.
Glenn,
Just to be clear, this vote is to defer once again?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
myself, yes. 600.
And the nip bottles, I spoke to Mary Bruce today and briefly, and she will be joining us next Wednesday. I suggested to her that we were interested, of course, in the cost to the local liquor stores and what the possible impact may be on any revenues as they have, as well as our tax revenues. We get it indirectly. She found that there is little or no information from the communities who've already voted in the ban on the nip bottles. That's by information, I mean the local liquor stores either did not provide, or the organization that was sponsoring this did not pursue the information from the liquor stores, how much they actually do sell. I imagine they could pull it out of their computer because everything is barcoded, of course, but she didn't indicate that there was any information available, but she will be joining us next week.
Yeah, there's also some additional revenue. You go and you get a nip bottle, I'm sure you buy other stuff like potato chips or something like that. So it's more than just the nip bottles as a decrease in revenue for the store, for the liquor store.
Oh, indeed.
Also,
And
it's the other goods, it's the cigarettes, the cigars, whatever. Yeah.
yes, of course, which is the very purpose you have certain things in there. Up here on Main Street, I'm not sure if you've been down Main Street up in my section of West Wareham. One of the homes has put out one of those blue plastic barrels with a sign on it, nip target.
I wonder if anyone hits it.
Well, I
Probably.
haven't tried it out yet, so I don't know. Gentlemen, is there anything else of interest? We have our moderator who has hung in this entire meeting. Any information on where we might and when we might?
I don't. I'm actually meeting tomorrow with the town administrator, with the superintendent, with the Board of Health, to discuss. I've been to the Board of Selectmen meeting a few weeks ago. The students will be back in school. So they will be in school on that Monday. And then if we hold town meeting in the school, they will be back in on Tuesday, which means there's no time to clean in between when we are there and they are there. So we've been trying to think of some options, but nothing is definitive until after tomorrow, till we see where we are with the COVID and what we can do. It's a couple of thoughts that I've had, but we'll have to discuss it tomorrow and see what we're going to do. Either way, we have to open town meeting on that Monday, since it has been posted, unless the moderator determines that it's unsafe to do so. And I still have the ability to recess the meeting to 30 days out by a formal declaration with the Attorney General. So we'll be talking about it tomorrow. And
Go for it, kid. Go for it.
Yeah. My own personal feeling is I thought going to the Tuesday night was a good idea. That gives them Wednesday to do their big cleaning as they may, you know. Yeah, I certainly understand why they don't want Monday night, but Tuesday night, schools are basically empty except for staffing.
it is an option, and we'll have to talk about it. Then we have to decide, can we get everything done in one night, or are we going to end up with 2 nights? So,
Yeah.
the charter article has 20 parts to it. So I'm
Right.
sure that will take some time to go through. It needs to be, in my opinion, very clear as to what the people are voting on in each section. So I think we're going to have some discussion on the zoning article for downtown. You know, I'm not sure that we can finish in one night. So we'll be talking about it tomorrow. Unfortunately, I can't give you an answer tonight.
Right.
Yeah. On the charter, they may ask to split the issue.
I thought that second chart was all split. All gonna be separate votes.
Haven't seen the motion yet. That's what I've asked to have done.
Well, that's just what they were talking about last night. You know, it's.
Yeah, the last that I had a discussion with Mrs. Whiteside is to try to break it down into segments that are related, much like a consent agenda, but on the issues of the town clerk, the road commissioner, to separate those out so that we can have a whole discussion separately on those.
And it's all referred to in the motion as subcategories.
Right.
And there'll have to be a motion on the floor to break it apart. And I'm sure Claire has been in conferencing with the moderator how to handle that.
I have more gray hairs right now.
If we push it off to the operating of the town,
What's that, Tom?
what problems does this present if you put it off for 30 days, 60 days, or whatever, to the operation of the town? These prior year bills, PEG access receipts, transfer free cash, the articles that really how we run.
The only article that I can see that might have an issue might be the sewer article, if they want to go out for borrowing. I don't know if there is a deadline on what they're applying for. But that was the only one that I saw that might be an issue, that if we held off for 30 days. I don't know capital plan. I haven't seen any of the capital planning items, so I don't know what they're planning to buy, or, you know, whether that would have anything that they need immediately.
Yeah, there's nothing operational, and the only one that would be critical, with, as you pointed out, Claire, would be borrowing, because they have mentioned that the particular fund of $9 million has a reduced interest rate opportunity right now, and they don't want to, and they want to take advantage of that. But nothing else is operational.
Yeah, the borrowing, they had some deadlines.
Beg your pardon, Tom?
The borrowing part of that, the sewage, they had some deadlines they had to meet.
Yes, yeah, that would be the only issue, really. And it's a critical one, too. They have some very large projects, necessary ones, too. And they'll be with us next week, as I said. And I'm not sure if we want to delve into them in detail as far as their operation or bring them back for a specific purpose. I think there's a lot going on over there, and I think we should an interest in it, at least understanding of what they're doing, because there's a lot of critical issues that they're trying to address. And the ones that they're putting aside are as equally as critical, and they're just trying to put on a priority list for what they can fund. Anything else, gentlemen? There being none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye, aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.
Have a good evening. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you, Claire. Good night, everyone.